What's good with your fam? Welcome to Big Faces Worldwide, where we talking nothing but this boxing, man. Hey, man, listen, first off, I want to welcome everybody to the channel. And like I always say, man, if you're new here, I want you to be here. So think about hitting that subscribe button as we stay knee deep into this boxing conversation, man. First off, give me a second, man. Let me check all my settings, make sure everything is copacetic. Make sure everything is sounding good, working good, uh, and all that there, man. Happy New Year's to everybody too, man. If you weren't here yesterday and I didn't get a chance to tell you, man, Happy New Year's to everybody too. Oh yeah, we doing good. We doing big things, man. Um, Listen, I want to talk a little bit about the best fights from the PBC of 2019, man. We had a lot of good fights from the PBC, top ranked Matchroom, the zone, all Golden Boy. We even had a few, Canelo fights. But I want to start with the PBC. You know what I'm saying? This is part one. We had over 20 really good fights from the PBC. But I'm gonna just start with half of them, man. I cannot go through them all. Well, you never know, man. It depends on how I go, man. I'm gonna get it cracking. But I appreciate y'all joining me, man. You know what I'm saying, on this Freaky Friday. We gonna get everything cracking. The year started off with Adrian the Problem Broner versus Manny Pacquiao. Now that card, man, that card was a good, solid card. Um, who we have on that card? Let me see. We had Badu Jack versus Marcus Brown, and we also had Rasheed Warren versus Abali. Now it opened up with Rasheed Warren, ex-Olympian. I thought uh, Rasheed Ward was gonna go in. Rasheed Warren, he fucks with Broner. He hang with them, about billions team, man. He's from Ohio, man, with Bunny and all them, man. Real good kid, real good boxer, solid skills. Um, I believe it was for the WBC crown, if I'm not mistaken, and he went up against the kid Abali. Rasheed Warren just couldn't turn it all the way on, in my opinion, man. Abali out hustled him, outmaneuvered him. Now Rasheed, he was in the fight the whole time. You know what I mean? He was in the fight the whole time, but he did not put it in another gear, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I always say, to be an elite fighter, you got to have that third gear. You know what I'm saying? Some fighters can get in the second gear, but when it's time to turn it all the way up to the third gear, some of these fighters cannot do it. And Rasheed Warren is one of those guys, man. And he walked away with the L. Also on that card, we had Marcus Brown versus Badu Jack. That was with the that devastating headbutt that cut Badu Jack, split his shit open right in the middle, man. I never seen nothing like it. The referee, Tony Weeks, was covered in blood. You know what I'm saying? It was just a real messed up scene, man. Um, I never seen a cut that big. It said it took like a hundred or something stitches to close it up. I didn't think Badu Jack would, be back in the ring for a long time, man. He never could really get started because that cut happened pretty early on. And Badu Jack, he's a late starter anyway. So Marcus Brown, man, he was explosive. He looked good. And, he outboxed Badu Jack. And, he took his WBA light heavyweight regular title. In a fight that was one to be remembered. Everybody's gonna remember how much blood was in that fight. All I keep thinking about is that picture of Tony Weeks covered in blood. You know what I'm saying? Blood all over the mat, blood all over the ring. And one thing that pissed me off about that fight was Badu Jack's trainer, Lou Duvall. Former fighter. Um, I think he should have stopped the fight. He kept sending Badu Jack out there, like he was going to pull a miracle out of his ass or something. The guy's leaking. He's down on the cards. The cut is getting bigger and bigger every round. Marcus Brown was not letting up on the cut. You know what I'm saying? He just kept attacking it, and it just kept spreading and spreading and spreading. You could see the white meat. You understand me? And Lou Duvall kept coaching him. Oh, the cut's not that bad. Cut's not that bad, man. And I was a little disgusted, you know what I'm saying, about that, man. I wanted him to fire Lou Duvall. I thought he did, man. But in the fight with uh, John Pascal, last week, I seen Lou Duvall was in his corner. But he said that's his last fight. He's going to retire. You know what I'm saying? Which he should, man. He talked about how much he loved Badu Jack. And to let him keep going out there, man, and with that type of injury, losing that amount of blood, man, he could have suffered career-ending injuries, or even worse. You understand what I'm saying? But I didn't like it, man. I didn't like it, man. This was all in January, man. And then another big fight from the PBC in January was Jose Uzatiki, who held the WBC super middleweight title. No, it's WBC. I forget what title it was. No, it wasn't the WBC. The IBF. It's the IBF super middleweight title. He went up against Caleb Plant. Now, Caleb Plant, in my opinion, I didn't think he had a chance, man. Uzatiki had just destroyed Darrell. He was looking so good. He fought Darrell twice, and both times he was chopping him up, chopping him up, chopping him down. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't, up until that point, I didn't see enough of Caleb Plant. I knew he had, a lot of confidence, a lot of swag with him, but, I didn't think he had the metal, man. I didn't think he had the heart for that press that I knew Jose Uzatiki was going to put on him. But, credit to him. He did, you know what I'm saying? He dropped Uzatiki, he hurt him, and he outboxed him, man. He outclassed him. And I was surprised, man. You know what I'm saying? And Caleb Plant is going to be a force to be reckoned with in 2020, man. I know he got a fight coming up in his hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. I cannot think of the fighter's name right now, but that should be a good fight. That should be a good fight. Caleb Plant is definitely, one of those guys who's going to lay it all on the line, who's going to go out there and put on a show when he fights. His nickname is Sweet Hands, man. He going to do the damn thing, man. So, I was impressed with Caleb Plant. I became a fan of Caleb Plant after that fight, and I'm looking for a real big 2020 for Caleb Plant, man. And to end the month of January off, we had a pay-per-view from the PBC, and that was the legend Manny Pacquiao. He went up against my guy, former unified welterweight champion from down there in Clearwater, Florida, Keith one-time Thurman. Now, Keith Thurman, he went into this fight. You know what? They say I messed up. Not Manny Pacquiao. Not Manny Pacquiao. I'm putting the cart before the horse. This was Keith Thurman's return fight, against Josecito Lopez. Now, everybody was looking for Keith Thurman to return. Keith Thurman had been out around 2 years, man. He was holding up the division with the titles. He ended up vacating the WBC, and Sean Porter and Danny Garcia fought for that. But this was Keith Thurman's, comeback fight. So everybody wanted to see Keith Thurman, how he looked after the injury, how he looked from all the time off. He just got married. Everybody was questioning his heart. Is Keith Thurman still there? Does he still got it? Everybody wanted to know, man. And Josecito Lopez has always been known as a guy who's going to come in and fight. He's going to lay it all on the line. He was never an elite fighter, but he always gave it his all. He always went out on his shield. He fought guys like Canelo, Victor Ortiz, you name them. Josecito Lopez been in there with some of the best of them, man. And I just thought that, my man Keith Thurman was going to go in there and wash him, But Josecito Lopez, he been training with Robert Garcia, and something about Robert Garcia and what he doing over there to them fighters in Oxnard, man. I don't know what he doing with them, but once Robert Garcia get a hold of them, it seems like they have a new surgeons in their fight game. You know what I mean? Robert Garcia got a hold of him, and he turned Josecito Lopez into a whole new fighter, man. He came into that Keith Thurman fight. He was ready to go. He wanted Thurman bad, and he gave Thurman a run for his money. Now, me personally, I think that Keith Thurman, he made a good account of himself. Especially early on, he was getting off. I didn't see no rust at all, man. Thurman looked good. And then I believe that seventh round came, and I think Thurman got overconfident. He had caught Lopez with a couple good shots. He had dropped him in the second or third round, I believe, and I think he thought he just was going to have his way with Lopez. But Lopez had other plans. He hurt Keith Thurman bad in that fight. You know what I'm saying? He had him on the run, and Keith Thurman does not know what to do when he's hurt. He doesn't grab, he doesn't hold, he doesn't tie up. Instead, Keith Thurman runs around the ring, pulls straight back, and looks crazy doing it. I mean, he looked like a chicken running back and forth across the street trying to dodge cars, man. Josecito Lopez was on his ass, you understand me? And I thought the referee was going to stop the fight. He could have stopped that fight, man, but he didn't. He let Keith Thurman continue, and, credit to the referee for not stopping it, because Keith Thurman came back on and won a couple of those last rounds, man. He closed the show very good, you know what I mean? And he went away with the victory. But, that got people to start talking. Is Thurman back? Is Thurman, going to be a top welterweight? You know what I mean? We seen the rust, We seen the rust in the Josecito Lopez, But taking nothing away from Lopez, Lopez did what he was supposed to do, and that is come in and try to get that title, man. But Thurman didn't look good. He didn't look good at all, man. And that just led to a lot of unanswered questions about Thurman. Is his heart still in it? Does he still have it? Does he still want it? You know what I mean? And we'll get into his later fight a little later on in the show, man. But to start the month of February off of 2019, we had Gervonta Tank Davis, man. He was going up against Hugo Ruiz. Now, Hugo Ruiz is not of an elite fighter. He's not top shelf. It was a showcase fight for Gervonta Tank Davis, and Gervonta Davis went in there and do what he normally does. He went in there and he jumped on Hugo Ruiz's ass in the first round, busted him up and got him out of there in the first round. You know what I mean? But it still was a good showing for Tank Davis. I like what he did. He did his thing, but a lot of people still are demanding Tank step his competition up. We want to see him fight somebody. I'm a big fan of Tank, man, but we got to see him in there with better competition in 2020. But he started off 2019, with Hugo Ruiz, and he told everybody that he was going to be more active in 2019. So he held up that end of the deal by fighting 3 times last year. And now he's saying that he's going to step the competition up in 2020. We'll see. We'll see what happens, if he does it, man. And that was really the only meaningful fight of February for the PBC. Then we jumped into March, man, and the Sean Porter. Sean Porter was defending his new title, the WBC title, against Ordenis Ugas. Now, as I told you earlier on in the show, Sean Porter won that title off of Danny Garcia, man. But he went up against Ugas out in Carson, California. It was a cold, rainy night that night. I mean, nobody was there, man. I mean, there might have been 100 people, 100 people in the stands, man. I don't why PBC chose to take Sean Porter all the way to Carson, California to fight Yordenis Ugas. It's still a mystery to me. Sean Porter has no fan base out there. Yordenis Ugas doesn't even speak English. Why they chose that fight to go out to California is still a mystery. They were better off if they brought it to the Barclays or somewhere on the East Coast. But nobody was there. You know what I mean? But that doesn't take away from the fact that it was a really good fight. A lot of back and forth action. I am going to say I don't think it was Sean Porter's best performance. A lot of people think that Ugas won that fight. A lot of people think that Ugas won that fight. Um, it was a close fight. You know what I mean? It could have went either way. Sean Porter didn't do himself no favors by he just coasted. The second half of the fight. Started the first half of the fight really good, man. Really good movement. His jab was working. He was he didn't come in with that brawling style that we usually see Sean Porter with. Instead, he was boxing more on the outside. He was using the lateral movement, moving on the back foot a lot, and he said that was all designed by his dad. He said his dad just came up with that, when they was coming out the tunnel. His dad said, you know what, we're going to change it up. We're going to box this fight. So we didn't see the rough and tough Sean Porter that we usually see. And a lot of people, they looked at that and they thought that Ugas got the better of Sean Porter because they're not used to seeing Sean Porter fight that way. You know what I'm saying? But it was a good fight. You know what I mean? A good championship fight, man. And it put Ugas on the map a little bit. Now people are starting to mention Ugas' name when they talk about the top welterweights because a lot of people think that he beat Sean Porter, man. That was on the second Saturday of March 9th, and they showed out now. Now the biggest fight of March was down in Dallas, man, at the Cowboy Stadium, and that was between Earl Spence Jr. He defended his IBF welterweight title against Mikey Garcia. Now, Mikey Garcia, he wanted Earl. He pursued Earl Spence. He wanted to fight Earl Spence, man. He demanded this fight, man. You know what I'm saying? He made the whole theme about it. I see something. I see something. And everybody was excited about it. I did a lot of videos about it leading up to the fight. I think, PBC need to give me a check. Earl, Mikey, somebody send me some money, man, because I promoted the shit out that fight on this channel, man. I thought that Mikey Garcia would give Earl a greater challenge than he did, man. Just Mikey's determination and will and his confidence, man. He wanted this fight. He didn't have to fight Earl Spence. It wasn't like, he was a mandatory or Earl Spence went looking for him. He sought out Earl Spence, So, that alone, I'm like, damn, does he see something? He got to see something to be so damn confident. So myself, I just thought that Mikey Garcia would give Earl a tougher fight than he did. You understand? A tougher fight than he did. But that wasn't the case, man. Earl Spence Jr. came in there and, he put on the master class of boxing, man. He outboxed Mikey Garcia. I didn't give Mikey one round. I believe some experts might have gave Mikey one. There was a point in the fight where, Robert Garcia and Eduardo Garcia, they wanted to stop the fight. They wanted to stop the fight. They thought Mikey was taking too much punishment, man. But credit to Mikey. He said, no, I'm going to finish this fight. I'm going to finish this fight on my feet. And credit to them for not stopping it, although he did take a beating, although he did lose a lopsided fight. He did finish the fight showing a lot of guts, taking a lot of punishment, and, he went on to fight another day. But that was a big fight for 2019. Big fight for Earl Spence, man. I think they had just under 50,000 people in attendance. I think the pay-per-view sold somewhere around 400,000. So it was a success. You know what I mean? Mikey Garcia versus Earl Spence Jr. It was a success, man. In the box office and on pay-per-view, man. And it was, a decent fight. You know what I'm saying? To end the month of March off was another very, very good fight, man. Fight of the year candidate, man. And that was Sergey Lipinets was fighting the old veteran Lamont Peterson. Now this fight here, man, I thought was going to be, a good fight, but I never Can you hear me now? I hope I ain't been muted all this time, man. Hold up, man. Can you hear me now? Okay, there we go. There we go. Good looking, fam. What's good with you, Rico Shaw? Toby Barlett, man. I appreciate y'all sliding through. Damn, I hope I ain't been muted all that time, man. Uh, where was that, man? But yeah, Adrian Granados, man. Adrian Granados, he's always a rough, tough guy. He got 5 or 6 losses on his record. But every fight that Adrian Granados was in was a tough fight. Nobody dominated Adrian Granados. He gave Broner a life or death fight down at the Centaur Center in Cincinnati. I was actually in the building for that fight, and it could have went either way, man. Adrian Granados gave Sean Porter a tough fight, a life or death fight, man. Sean Porter hurt his hand, but credit to Adrian Granados, he stayed on top of him, man. He lost that fight, but Adrian Granados, he went in there and knocked out Amiri Mon. Amiri Mon was a guy who was on the come up, was highly touted. Everybody was talking about Amiri Mon. He was supposed to be the next big thing. And Mary Martin actually defeated Dennis Ugas by unanimous decision. And Adrian Granados went in there and he got dropped early, got hurt by Iman, but he was able to come adversity and stop Iman. You know what I mean? Yeah, but so we all thought that he was gonna go in there and at least give Danny Garcia a rough fight, a good fight, a tough fight. You understand what I'm saying? We thought he was gonna get a good tough fight out of him, man. And that didn't happen, man. Danny Garcia, for the first time, he hired a strength and conditioning coach, man, and he came in and looked awesome, man. Danny Garcia looked it good, man. He battered and bruised Adrian Granados, dropped him several times before stopping him, man. And he was happy about the fight. He was emotional. I believe, he shed a couple tears, him and his dad, in the center of the ring. Because, when you take an L, man, you want to know if you still got it. You want to know if you are the same guy that you used to be. Give me 1 second, man. They said I was muted. I want to make sure that I didn't go all this time being muted. Because if I did, I'm going to have to stop this shit. I've been going, for 25 minutes? And if I was muted that whole time, then we're going to have to ditch this stream, fam. For 2019. Okay, maybe not. Okay, man. Yeah. But the biggest snooze fest of the year, not only the year, but of the month, PBC weakest fight that I have seen in decades, man, was the Robert Easter Jr. versus Rances Barthélemy. That was, in Las Vegas, Nevada, April 27th. That ended off the month of April for the PBC. And all I got to say about that fight was horrible. It was terrible. And I never want to see it again. You know what I'm saying? I never want to see it again. The month of May, we had really good fights, man. We started the fight off with another fight of the year candidate, man. Another fight of the year candidate, Julian J. Rock Williams. He went up against unified super welterweight champion Jared Swift Hurd. Now, this was Jared Swift Hurd, supposed to be his coming out party at home in front of all his people, everybody that he knew, the people next door, his first girlfriend, his third grade teacher, everybody that Swift Hurd knew was going to be in the house for this fight. You know what I'm saying? And Jared Hurd was, he wanted to put on for his city. He wanted to put on for his hometown crowd, man. Jared Hurd came out there and, he came out ready to fight, so we thought. But early on in that fight, you could see the disarray in his corner. Ernesto Rodriguez, who is his head trainer, normally the chief second, when they walk to the center of the ring to meet Julian Williams, it was Swift Hurd, Ernesto Rodriguez, and another dude. I don't know who this other dude was, but it seemed like something was off right from the get go. Like there was a battle for power. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You know what I mean? That was evident by both of them walking with Hurd over to the center of the ring to meet Julian Williams, man. And Julian Williams put on the performance of his life. You know, like I said, this was a Fight of the Year candidate. Julian J. Rock Williams, he dropped Jarrett Hurd early. We never seen Hurd dropped. You know what I'm saying? He put a beating on him. You know, he put a beating on him. But Hurd never gave up, man. Hurd kept fighting. You know what I'm saying? He kept coming. You know, he was in his city. He had to show up. He did not want to let his fans down. You know what I mean? And he kept trying. You know, but it was a losing effort, man. I think the knockdown early really threw Hurd off. He wanted to get that back in front of his home crowd, and he threw whatever game plan he had out the window. And you know, Julian Williams put it on him. You know, he cut him, had him leaking like a faucet. The corner didn't know what they was doing. They was putting big globs of Vaseline in his eyes, which affected him in the round. You could see him closing his eyes, trying to wipe it out, while Julian Williams just steady whooping on him. You know what I mean? But that was a good ass fight. For the month of May, Fight of the Year candidate, and Julian Williams became the unified super welterweight champion. And after that fight, um, Hurd went on vacation, and his trainer Rodriguez, man, I made videos about this, man. He did a video with the dude Jason from Laugh at First Sight. He did a video with him where he was bashing Jarrett Hurd, you know, talking about him putting substances in his body, talking about how he wasn't training properly, talking about how, you know, he didn't like the guys, the team that he had around him now, you know what I mean? And word got back to Swift. Swift came back and had a talk with him, and the two end up parting ways. And you know, Jarrett Hurd talked about this recently, and he said he was lost. You know, he didn't have a gym. He just lost a trainer that he'd been with since the beginning of his 12-year career, and he was lost. And he said that he could not go back into the rematch with Julian Williams in the state that he was in. So I don't knock him for not taking that rematch. You know what I'm saying? But now he's down there with Coach K, and hopefully he can get back on track. He got a fight coming up on January 25th on the Danny Garcia, Ivan Redkach undercard. I forget the guy's name, but it's just a showcase bout for Jarrett Hurd just to get him back in the swing of things. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see how he comes back, and you know, go from there, man. But you know, the biggest fight of March that PBC had was Deontay Wilder and Dominic Breazeale. Now, this fight has been a couple years in the making. I mean, there's a lot of bad blood between Deontay and Dominic Breazeale. I believe Deontay Wilder had a fight in his hometown of Alabama. Breazeale was on the undercard. But they said all week, you know, through all the media events, Breazeale just kept bad-mouthing Deontay Wilder, talking shit about Deontay Wilder. You know what I'm saying? So Wilder, being the guy that he is, you know, Wilder, he don't like that trolling shit. You know, he even met a I forget the dude's name. Some dude was trolling him. Deontay Wilder went and found him, man, and gave him a whooping. You know what I'm saying? So Deontay Wilder don't play no games with no trolls or nobody else talking shit. You know, so they ran into Dominic Breazeale in the lobby of the hotel or wherever they was fighting at, and an altercation broke out. Dominic Breazeale was with his wife and his kids, and after that, you know, he held a grudge. He held a grudge after that, and him and Deontay Wilder sort of been going back and forth, you know, for the last couple of years until they fought, man. And you know, Dominic Breazeale gave Anthony Joshua a run for his money, so everybody thought that, you know, he was going to be a solid opponent for Deontay. You know, thought he was going to give Deontay, he was possibly going to give Deontay some problems. You know, with his size, he's a big boy, got decent power, you know, decent boxing skills. You know what I'm saying? And credit to the Bronze Bomber, he just came out there and punished. I do mean punished, and got Breazeale out there, man, with the knockout of the year, in my opinion, man. The first round got Brazil out of there, man. One punch, good night, it was over. And that was the big fight of March. You know what I'm saying? Um, but April and May, April and May and June was pretty quiet for the PBC. We really didn't have any big cards, man. But in July, was the big fight. Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, the living legend, 8 division world champion. He was going against the undefeated Keith Thurman, 10 years younger, fresh off his injury. He had one tune-up fight that I talked about earlier against Josecito Lopez, man. Thurman was talking a lot of shit to the build up to this fight, the Manny Pacquiao. Thurman sold the fight. I think they did about 500,000 pay-per-view, which is really good in the days of streaming. You know what I mean? Me personally, I went to the casino. I put money on Thurman in a lot of different ways, but I bet money on him to get the knockout. I thought he was going to knock Manny Pacquiao out. Now, I do got to mention, a lot of people might get mad about this, but, it is what it is. There was no drug testing for this fight. And dumbass Keith Thurman, he said he didn't care about it. He didn't care about the drug testing. He wasn't worried about it. You know what I mean? And I got to say, Manny Pacquiao looked like he turned the clock back. He looked like he was the young, fresher fighter. And it showed early in the fight, man. I'm watching the fight with my wife. And in the first round, he dropped Keith Thurman. He hit him into the stomach and then caught him with an overhand, you know what I'm saying, and sat him down, sat Keith Thurman down, man. Speak Your Mind Sports Talk, what's good with you, fam? He says, hit that mother effing like button, show Big Will some love, man. I appreciate you, fam. Yeah, but he sat Thurman down in the first round, man. I was shocked. I could not believe it, I did not want to believe it, and from that point on, Thurman threw his whole game plan out the way. And he was the aggressor. He was he wanted to get that knockdown back. You know what I'm saying? So he's putting the press on Manny Pacquiao. He's putting the press on him. Manny Pacquiao was doing what he does, coming in, darting out, in and out, in and out. Putting them hands on, dropping them bees on Keith Thurman. You know what I'm saying? But I do think Thurman showed, made a good account of himself. It was a very good fight. In those second half of the fight, I thought Thurman came on really well. I thought Manny Pacquiao, I thought he tired out, he slowed down, and Keith Thurman was able to get some good, clean shots in that I didn't think Manny Pacquiao was going to be able to stand up to. You know what I mean? I didn't think he was going to be able to stand up to him. I'm just keeping it a buck. But if you can watch some of them replays, man, and the way Thurman hit him, man, shook his whole brain loose. Shook Manny Pacquiao's brain loose. I don't know how he stood up to him, but he did. And, he was able to get the victory. I think Keith Thurman, he lost some momentum. He had all the momentum in the second half of that fight until the 10th round. Manny Pacquiao caught Keith Thurman with a vicious body shot, and Keith Thurman bent over, and was hurting, looked like he wanted to quit, you know what I'm saying? He kind of walked away, turned his back for Manny Pacquiao. It wasn't a good look for Keith Thurman. You know what I'm saying? It was not a good look for him. And, Manny Pacquiao went on to take away Keith Thurman's take away Keith Thurman's WBA super welterweight title. And, Keith Thurman, he got to come back, man. He suffered another injury, so he's going to be out till the summer of 2020. I just think Keith Thurman will never be the same. He seems to be injury prone. The last 3 fights, he has had an injury where he had to take some time off, man. I just don't see him coming back the same as he once was. I don't see that one time. Now I hope he do, but just from right now, I just can't see it. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. But in August, we had Adam Kwanaki going up against the veteran Chris Arreola at the Barclays Center, man. Now this was a fight that everybody wanted to see, man. This fight here was action, nonstop action. You could tell that Arreola this was his last stance, man. He trained so hard for this fight, and he wanted it bad. This was Kawanaki's coming out party. He had the whole Polish crowd from New York City in the Barclays, man. He sold a lot of tickets, and the fight did not let down, man. I mean, they went in there and let everything hang out. A lot of people thought that Adam would knock Chris out, but that did not happen. Chris showed why he has been, one of the best fighters at heavyweight for a long time. You know what I mean? And this was his last stand, and he made a good account of himself, man. He was in the fight. It was a non-stop rock'em sock'em robot type of fight. But in the end, the young Adam Kwanaki walked away with the victory. But it left the crowd impressed, left the crowd pleased, and I was excited. I was excited and happy for Adam Kwanaki to get a scalp like Chris Arreola on his resume. It says a lot, man. My man D. Jefferson, speaking mind sports, he says one time Thurman would have beaten Manny Pacquiao. Problem is, one time Thurman is long gone, and I knew that from the Josecito Lopez fight. Thurman had a great career there. Yeah, that was my guy, man. Thurman was my favorite welterweight, man. And I expected big things from Thurman, man, but things did not turn out, exactly how I thought they would. But let's move on to September. Now, this next fight I'm gonna talk about, man, I didn't think I would be talking about it because I didn't think it would amount to nothing. You got two older guys, fighting. I thought that Peter Quillen and Alfredo Angola was just a fight for no reason. No, I didn't want to see it, but I watched it, man, and it turned out to be a really good fight. I expected Kid Chocolate to go in there and beat the living shit out of Angolu. You know what I'm saying? But that didn't happen, man. The old Angolu, he's training with Virgil Hunter, and he looked good, man. He looked good. Kid Chocolate's a shell of himself. Angulo was able to hurt him, and I think the fight could have went either way. It was that type of fight, but I think by the fact that the judges was looking at how many times Angulo hurt Kid Chocolate, he did the most damage. Kid Chocolate, he went in there and he stepped to Angulo like he was going to stop him. You know what I mean? When he found out that he couldn't stop him, he tried to box. But by then it was too late. You know what I'm saying? It was too late. He'd already been buzzed a few times, and, he just couldn't get his legs back, man. His legs was rubbery the whole fight. But, that's the fight that was a sleeper fight. And it turned out to be a pretty good fight. You know what I'm saying? It turned out to be a really good fight, man. But then we went on to October, man, and this was the return of Erickson. Peter Quillen is done, D. He is done, man. Well, we turn to Peters, Erickson the Hammer Lubin, man. He been on a comeback trail, you know what I mean? He been on a comeback trail after suffering that horrible knockout to Jermell Charlo. He went up against Nathaniel Gallimore, Gallimore has been known to be a tough competitor. He went up against Julian J. Rock Williams. J-Rock won that fight, but, Gallimore gave him a tough fight. You know what I'm saying? So I thought he was going to give Lubin a tough fight. But, credit to Erickson Lubin. He down there with Kevin Cunningham, and he looked sensational, man. I mean, he looked like he was well-oiled, working on all cylinders. He looked good, man. He beat the shit out of Nathaniel Gallimore. Gave him a boxing lesson. I mean, Lubin looked good, man. Lubin will be in that mix of 154 this year. I believe he's going to get a big fight, this year with one of those guys. I believe he may be the mandatory for the WBC, who was held by Jermell Charlo, so we may get that rematch. And with Kevin Cunningham in his corner, the time that Lubin had to grow and mature, I think we may see a totally different fight this time. You know what I mean? I thought the first fight was going to be a good fight. I thought it was going to be a chess match. I thought they was going to go back and forth. I was really anticipating watching that fight. And when Charlo came out there and, slept him in the first round, I was surprised. I was shocked, man. You know what I'm saying? But I would love to see a rematch of that fight. You know what I mean? I would love to see a rematch of that fight, man. But yeah, that fight was in October, and it definitely put Erickson Lubin back on the radar. He is definitely back in the mix at 154, and I'm looking for a big 2020 for Erickson Lubin, man. Now, the Saturday, November 23rd, the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder, and Luis Ortiz 2, the rematch. Now, Deontay Wilder, he ain't had to fight Luis Ortiz again. No, he beat him the first time, knocked him out in the 10th round, dropped him a couple times, but that 7th round in that first fight where everybody was talking about, Wilder should have been counted out. The referee gave him too much time to recover. Wilder didn't like that shit. Wilder wanted to come back and silence all the critics. He wanted to leave no doubt, so he decided to take on the dangerous Luis Ortiz again. And Ortiz, he hired Coach Larry Wade to be his strength and conditioning coach. He came in the fight ripped and shredded, looking like we never seen him before. I believe Luis Ortiz was in the best shape at any point of his career he was in on November 23rd. You know what I'm saying? He came out giving Wilder everything he wanted. He was schooling Wilder, giving him a boxing lesson. It was real reminiscent of the first fight where but this time instead of Wilder, trying too hard to stay in the fight, Wilder just was patient. Like Wilder didn't care about being behind. Like he didn't even care about the scorecards. He would just patient, waiting, biding his time, man. And he found them. He found them out of nowhere. Like everybody just watching around, watching. We just think it's another round like any round else, man. Any other round, and bam, just like that, Wilder catch him square in the forehead and knock Luis Ortiz out. Now you knock somebody out by hitting them in the forehead, you got power, man. Deontay Wilder is the hardest boxer, the hardest punching boxer in history, in my opinion, man. And, he left no doubt. Now nobody can bring up that first fight, But of course, the haters gonna hate. They always trying to find something. Now they're saying, it was because of Luis Ortiz's age. His age showed he was old, and they're just looking for something to find, something to point out. You know what I mean? But that was a great fight, and that ended November, man, for the PBC. Now, December. Last month. To end off the year, we had Jermall Charlo, WBC middleweight champion. He went up against the tough and rugged Dennis Hogan. Now, Dennis Hogan is an Irish guy from Australia who, in many people's mind, he beat Jaime Munguia and was robbed down in Mexico City. I thought he beat Jaime Munguia on the zone. He showed a lot of heart in that fight. He showed a lot of awkwardness, and he was tough. He was tough. So I was really curious as to how he would look going up against Jermall Charlo, how Jermall Charlo would deal with Dennis Hogan's awkwardness. And I knew that Jermall Charlo would win this fight. I knew that eventually he would probably catch him and stop him. And that's exactly what happened, man. The first round, Jermall Charlo just kind of figured, just went in there to figure out Hogan, man, and see where he was at, see what he brought to the table. But after that, man, it just was a one-sided beatdown, man. And he made the boy do a backflip in the ring, man, and he caught him with a uppercut type of left hook that eventually stopped Dennis Hogan and got him out of there, which started his knockout streak back again. He was taking some flack for his previous opponent, the guy who won a contender. I can't think of his name right now, man. I can't think of his name. Brandon Adams. He went up against Brandon Adams, and it was a hometown fight for Jermall. And he did knock Brandon Adams out. Brandon Adams proved to be a tough guy, but Jermall won. You know what I'm saying? And the fight before that, fighting a Russian dude, Matt Korobov, You caught a lot of flack for that. So to be able to come back and get this knockout win against Dennis Hogan, yeah, Brandon Adams, good looking D. To get this win against Dennis Hogan, you know, it was just like a feel good fight. You know what I'm saying? Now Jamal Charlo, he's able to feel good about himself again, man. And I'm excited to see what Maul does for 2020, man. Now there's been rumored that Eddie Hearn has offered Jamal Charlo a one-fight deal to fight Demetrius Andre in a unification bout for $7 million. You know what I'm saying? Now Jamal Charlo has made nowhere near $7 million for a fight, and if everything is what Eddie Hearn is stating, one fight deal, no strings attached, $7 million, I see no reason why Jamal Charlo does not take this fight. You know what I'm saying? It's a win-win situation. You win financially, and you know, if you're so confident in yourself, if you're so sure of yourself, go over there, get that belt, bring it back to PBC. You'll come back a unified champion if you can beat Demetrius Andre. I don't understand why I haven't heard anything from Jamal Charlo's side. I haven't heard nothing from him. I got Demetrius Andrade on Twitter trolling him every day. You know what I'm saying? He just trolled him yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Rob Ramon, what's up with you, fam? Appreciate you sliding through. But yeah, man, I think Jamal Charlo needs to take that fight. You know, I think he needs to take that fight. And well, not to end, but the next fight of December, Manny Mota, what's up with you, fam? To end the fight in the middle right before Christmas was the highly anticipated Jermell Charlo, the rematch against Tony Harrison, man. Now, this was a highly anticipated fight because of all the back and forth. You know what I'm saying? The back and forth was something vicious. You know what I mean? Hold up one second. Hold up one second, man. Be right with you, fam. Everybody was waiting on this fight, man. Everybody wanted to see would Jermell Charlo be able to get his title back. You know what I mean? Like the build up to this fight, I thought Fox did a phenomenal job. As far as promotion. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys, you know, it showed these dudes going back and forth. Mike Jones, what's good with you, fam? You know, showed these guys going back and forth, man. Talking that shit, you know, up in each other's grill. You know what I'm saying? Mike Jones says Tony Harrison talking about little man syndrome, but he got whooped by a little man syndrome. Bad. Yeah, man. But you know, Tony Harrison, leading up to this fight, everybody talked about how they thought, you know, Tony Harrison was in Mel's head. They thought he was in his head. Oh, man, he's zipping Charlo's head. Charlo's in his feelings, man. That's going to affect them in the fight. But if you really think about it, if you really look at the fight, who was in whose head? You know, Tony Harrison didn't fight his fight. You know, Tony Harrison did not box. You know, like he said, he wanted to dog the dog. And that made it an exciting fight for us, the fans. But, you know, I think it was a bad strategy for Tony Harrison in the end. You know, it turned out to be a bad strategy. But he did not go in there, in Jermell Charlo's head. In fact, Jermell Charlo was in his head because he did not box his fight. You know, he wanted to dog the dog. He wanted to show Jermell that he was the dog. And that tells you right there that Mel was in his head, you know, that he had to switch his style up to fight him. But it was a good fight, man. it was a good fight. Mike Jones, what's up with you, fam? I think my man Clabo was telling me about you, fam. I think if that's the same Mike Jones, man. If not, salute to you anyway, fam. I appreciate you sliding through, man. But yeah, that was a good fight. Tony Harrison, he showed a lot. He showed a lot in that fight, though. You know what I mean? He showed a lot. He showed that he was tough. You know, he showed that he could fight. He showed that he can get in the middle and bang. I didn't think he could bang with Mel like that. But, you know what I'm saying? You got to be able to do it for 12 rounds. And he wasn't able to do it for 12 rounds. You know what I'm saying? Credit to Jamel Charlo, who showed a hell of a chin, man. Tony Harrison caught him with some really good shots. And, you know, Tony Harrison got a good knockout ratio. You know, Tony Harrison ain't no pillow puncher. You know, he hits hard. You know, and Mel was able to suck them punches up, man, take him on the chin. He was able to remain focused all the way through, man. And eventually he got Tony Harrison where he wanted him, you know, caught him and got him up out of there, man. I mean, that last knockdown before the stoppage, man, where Tony Harrison was defenseless and Mel caught him with them three hooks. You know what I mean? Them three hooks, clean hooks that was snapping Harrison's head back like that. I thought he was going to kill him. You know what I'm saying? I thought he was going to kill him, man. Mike Jones says, keep pushing. No doubt, family. No doubt, man. My man D says, yep. I told him, Big Will, Charlo was going to stop Harrison this time. Jamel had the mental advantage in that fight, in that ring, real talk. No doubt. And it showed. And it showed, man. And but you know what? Tony Harrison has nothing to be ashamed about because I do think he fought his heart out. I do think that, you know, he proved he was tough, man. But something just seems to happen with Harrison in the later rounds, man. If you look at all his L's, you know, besides this fight, which was a really, really close fight, but the fight with not J Rock, with Swift Hurd, Tony Harrison was beating the shit out of Jared Hurd. He was beating his ass, man. The tall dude, what's the dude's name? Willie Nelson. You know, Harrison was giving it to him. But it's just something about the later rounds, man. I don't know if his mental focus just goes up in the air or if it's fatigue, if he got a stamina issue. But something happens, man, where, you know, Tony Harrison just does not do good in those later rounds, man. Manny Mota says, hopefully in 2020, the best fight the best. And that's what we need, man. That's what we want. And hopefully we'll get it. Boxing politics is ruining everything. No doubt, man. No doubt, man. I'm tired of, you know, this side of the street and that side of the street. You know what I mean? I'm tired of hearing that talk, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of hearing about it. OJ Colombiano, what's good with you, fam? I appreciate you sliding through. He says, Whittier, California in the house. Happy New Year. Hey, man, listen, I appreciate you sliding through, fam. I appreciate you coming through. Don't forget to hit the like button for your fam. And like I always say, if you're new here, I want you to be here. So think about hitting that subscribe button as we stay knee deep into this boxing conversation, man. Now, listen, man, we got one more fight from the PBC of 2019 to end the year off, man. And in this fight, you know, there's a lot of talk about this fight still, you know, and that was Gervonta Tank Davis versus Yuriorkis Gamboa. Now, from the outset, Manny Mota, Whittier, where the girls are prettier. Okay, fam. I like that. Now, everybody went into this fight with very high expectations for Tank Davis. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I am a very big Gervonta Tank Davis fan, you know, and with saying that, I'll be the first to admit that Tank definitely needs to step up his competition. You know, he's not fighting nobody of note. Now, but everybody had this high expectation of, you know, Tank leading into this fight. And, you know, everybody just assumed that he was going to go in there and crush Gamboa. You know what I'm saying? His performance was not impressive, Manny. Definitely not impressive. But I don't think it was horrible. I don't think it was horrible. And everybody got this notion that uh, Gamboa was going to get knocked out. You know what I'm saying? Gamboa had been knocked down several times, several times prior to this fight. But in most of those fights where he was knocked down, Gamboa came back to win. You know what I'm saying? And that tells you right there the heart and toughness of Gamboa. Now, Gamboa, to make it to the Olympics, you gotta have something special about you to make it, to the Olympics. But Gamboa not only made it to the Olympics, he went on to win a gold medal. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, Gamboa's 38 years old. Gamboa is definitely on the tail end of his career. Gamboa only has 2 losses, and that's against one of the greatest fighters of this generation, who many got in they top 1, 2, 3 pound for pound. That is Terrence Crawford. And the other loss is against, I forget this dude's name. Um, damn. Calatina. I forget dude's name. I can't think of his name right now. But in that fight, man, you could tell that, this is just my opinion, that Gamboa took him lightly. He was out of the ring for a while. He didn't train properly. And, Castellano, I think his name is, man. And who was actually a decent fighter. He was actually a good fighter, man. He was able to take advantage of Gamboa not preparing well, and he beat Gamboa, you know what I mean? But those are the only 2 losses that Gamboa suffered. Gamboa had been dropped, yeah, but, people act like Gamboa just been knocked out a whole bunch of times, and that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? And, people get on Tank because they had, like I said, high expectations for Tank. You know what I'm saying? Because Tank been crushing the Hugo Ruizes, crushing the Ricardo Nunez's, and just stopping these guys, Cuellar, just stopping these guys in 1, 2, 3 rounds that, Gamboa's been sat down so many times. People thinking, Tank gonna go in there and blow him out. And when Tank didn't blow him out in a couple rounds, everybody decided to look at Tank's performance and pick it apart. You know what I'm saying? But, when you look at the fight, Tank won just about every round. Every round, in my opinion. Tank dropped the guy 3 times. Tank hurt and wobbled the guy multiple times. And then Tank got the knockout in the 12th and final round. So if that's a bad performance, if that's a horrible performance, I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? I'll take it. Now, did he look his best? No, he didn't. But in not looking his best, he still dominated Gamboa, who had some problem with his foot or whatever. He still dominated him. He still hurt him multiple times, still dropped him multiple times, and still was able to get him out of there in the end. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, Tank did what he had to do. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not going to have a spectacular night out every single time. You know what I'm saying? And this was not a spectacular performance by Tank, but he dominated the fight. He hurt his guy. He got him out of there. And, I'm satisfied. You know what I'm saying? I'm satisfied with that, man. Manny Mota says, Tank says he's in no hurry for Loma. What do you think? I didn't actually hear him say that, but the things that he said would lead you to believe that that's what he meant. You know what I mean? I'll be one to admit that, when he speaks of Loma, he does not seem 100% confident all the time. Like sometimes he seems, like he's ready for Loma, yeah, give me Loma, I'm ready to go, I'm the best, this and that. And then other times he start talking about, he's advanced in age and I'm younger. I got, you know what I'm saying, that type of talk right there, which I really ain't rocking with. I really ain't feeling, man. But I think his energy about Lomachenko, definitely a little shaky, definitely back and forth. Me, myself, I think Tank destroys Lomachenko, man. I think he destroys him. But he don't destroy him and won't destroy him if he's doubting himself. You know what I'm saying? So if he's not confident about beating Lomachenko, man, I don't want to see him fight him. My man D says Tank knows better, and so does Ellerby. The Leo Santa Cruz fight is a bad look to me, though. Yeah, you're right. I don't see no need to fight Santa Cruz. As far as proving anything. He's not proving nothing by fighting Santa Cruz. everybody think he's gonna go in there and whoop Santa Cruz. You know what I'm saying? It's just a financial thing. Like Lomachenko just called him the other day. He called him a businessman. You know, he said, those guys over at TMT are businessmen. And he's right. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why they're going to take on the Santa Cruz fight. But you can't fault Tank. Tank didn't go looking for Santa Cruz. He's not calling out Leo. Leo has been calling out Tank. In every fight, every interview that you see you see Leo Santa Cruz with Tank's name in his mouth. Every interview, you know what I'm saying? And Leo got a big Mexican fan base on that West Coast. You know what I'm saying? So Tank and Mayweather Promotions, they looking at that bag. We know Tank put asses in the seat. We know Leo Santa Cruz gonna put asses in the seats. So they think it's a financial gain to go in and take that fight. You know what I'm saying? It's an easy fight for Tank, you know what I'm saying? And they looking at it like, why not? You know what I'm saying? And from that perspective, I can understand it. But as far as impressing the critics, as far as pressing his fans, it does nothing to impress us, man. Nothing, man. My man Manny Mota says, what's next for Tank, though? Another Mexican taxi driver. And you know what? After this Leo Santa Cruz fight, because I think it's inevitable that he fights Santa Cruz, man. It's you know what I'm saying? It might as well be a done deal. But after this next fight, man, if Tank doesn't fight an elite fighter in 2020, I got to jump off the train. I got to jump off the Tank train, man. I cannot defend him no more. You know, I've been on here defending Tank for the last couple years, man. He came to Pittsburgh in 2015. I went and seen him. And this before Floyd got his hands on him. And I liked what I see, man. I said, you know what? This kid is going to be something special, man. And I've been riding with Tank ever since, you know what I'm saying? And I like what he did with Pedraza. That was a step-up fight. He did what he had to do. He went over across the pond and beat Liam Walsh, you know what I'm saying, in a hostile territory. That was impressive. But after that, it's been flat, man. You know, Tank's been disappointing, man. On the biggest fight of your life, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather, you know what I'm saying? The whole world is watching. You come in overweight, lose your title on the scales. That was, you know what I'm saying? That was a letdown for me, man. And then, last week, he goes into the fight, you know what I'm saying? Although he eventually made weight, but, you know, why we got to go through that, Tank? You know what I'm saying? Well, at this stage in your career, why do we have to go through that? You're moving up in weight. This is your first fight at the weight. You should have had no problem making the weight. You know what I'm saying? Why we got to go through that? As a fan of Tank, why I got to worry about my guy making weight, man? You know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, if Tank does not fight somebody meaningful in 2020, I'm hopping off the Tank train. And that's just the end of it. You know what I'm saying? That's just the end of it. My man D says, Tank going to beat Santa Cruz. How come Santa Cruz wouldn't fight Russell? To hell with Santa Cruz. Exactly, man. Exactly. But, you know, with him not fighting Gary Russell, I think for him it's high risk, low reward. You know what I'm saying? Russell beat him in the amateurs. You know what I'm saying? He's scared of Russell's confidence, his swag. I think he's scared of him, man. You know, he's been around Russell for years. You know what I'm saying? And Russell just probably walk around him. You know what I'm saying? He said he used to run up on him and tell him how skinny he was and, you know what I mean, shit like that. So Russell probably bullied him and got in his mind. You know what I'm saying? And Santa Cruz just don't want no parts of it, man. It's a unification fight. It'll be a good fight. One I think Leo has a chance in. You know what I'm saying? But against Tank, I don't see Leo having a chance, man. Even Gary Russell against Tank, in my opinion, I think Tank would be too powerful for little Gary Russell, man. I watched Gary Russell fight Jojo Diaz, man, and when Jojo Diaz would punch little Gary Russell, man, his whole body would move, man. His feet would get up off the ground, you know what I'm saying? But he was able to frustrate Jojo Diaz and get the victory, you know what I'm saying? But listen, I appreciate y'all coming through, man. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up, man. Appreciate everybody for coming through. My man D, you know what it is, man. It's 2020, man. We got to get it. I predicted that, you know what I'm saying, my man D will be at 1,000 subs by the end of February. We may be there a little before that, man. If you're not subscribed to Speak Your Mind Sports, man, go over there, man, and hit that subscribe button. But like I always say, man, hit that like button if you didn't on the way in. Hit it on the way out for me, man. And if you're new here, I want you to be here. You know what I'm saying? Because we stay knee deep into this boxing talk, man. But in the meantime and in between time, stay blessed and keep on supporting this sport that we love called boxing. Peace. I holla back.